Welcome back, everyone, to NFL Talking Points. I am your host, Joseph Gardner. Today, we are going over our power rankings. We can't do this without our amazing guest, Matthew Arscott of the Matthew Arscott Sports Show. Check him out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. He just finished up a really good episode on the NBA. Really long episode, but if you're into NBA, you got to check it out. Matthew, how are you doing this wonderful morning?
It's great this Wednesday morning. We're going into week 12 of NFL football. We're finally starting to see we have some answers on some teams that we didn't previously have, and that puts us at peace for two NFL guys that are just trying to talk some points in the NFL. So I'm doing great. Thanks, Joseph.
Absolutely. Like you said, it gives us a lot of peace. And you know what? This week is, I think, the closest we've been on our power rankings. Not every team lines up, of course, but we have the same teams in every tier except for a couple small spots. It's the closest we've been. So
love it.
Without
Let's
further
take a
ado,
look.
Yeah, let's take a look. Let's just get right into it. I'm gonna pull this up here so that you and all of our viewers can see our wonderful power rankings here. On the left, we've got our post-game win expectancy rankings. This is based on statistics, which team should have won the game, and that tracks through the whole season. My rankings, your rankings, the standings, and our combined rankings. On the right, I do have starred the teams that would make the playoffs if the playoffs started today. I'm going to be doing that for the rest of the season as we get closer to playoff time. Let's go through it for our audio listeners. Our combined rankings. Number 1, the Los Angeles Rams stay where they're at. Colts up 1, coming off of a bye, to 2. Eagles at 3, up 3 spots. Seahawks at 4, down 2 spots off of their close loss to the Rams. Broncos at 5, up 3 with their big win. 6, we've got the Patriots up 1, Bills up 2 to 7, and Lions at 8, down 4. Matthew, what sticks out to you about this guy?
Yeah, you know what? Tier 1 to me is just we're starting to see some of these elite teams actually separate themselves. Of course, we do take a few losses here with the Seahawks and the Lions, but they are the very good teams. In fact, to my top 2 teams at least, and in our combined rankings, 2 of our top 3 teams, right? And so everybody that's in the top tier at this point in the season should be locked in for the playoffs, should not be losing to anybody other than maybe a top 1 or 2 tier team. Of course, it's the NFL. Anything can happen. I really like every single one of these teams. The Broncos and the Patriots, after being disrespected by us for weeks, finally start to solidify themselves in the top tier. I also see that you're giving some respect to the Eagles now. What drives that?
Big win over the Packers, big win over the Lions. I mean, straight up, the Eagles, and I've seen a lot of stuff on this one. The Eagles have beat every NFC North Division opponent, and the Bears have beat every NFC East opponent. The Bears and Eagles are this alliance to be able to knock off each other's divisions and put each other at the top. They play each other next on Black Friday coming up, so it'll be interesting to see how their alliance dies down there. You and I had the Rams, Bills, and Lions all in the same spot. We also have the Chiefs in the same spot. I wanted to make tier 1 9 spots because it felt weird taking the Chiefs out of the first tier.
Yep.
But then I thought, you know what? The Chiefs are 5-5, dude. I mean, they are struggling, and we'll get to the Chiefs. But kind of crazy to me that the Lions right now would miss the playoffs. And on specifically the Eagles, I just thought it was time. I've waited long enough to put them up. Their defense has been stellar the last 2 games, just completely stifling the Packers' offense, which should be really good, and the Lions' offense, which is really good. Right. So, put some respect on the Eagles' names there. And then for me, the Seahawks went down 3 for you. This is why I only brought the Seahawks. I kept the Seahawks where they're at 2. And the reason for that was because of the way the Seahawks lost. If you look at the stats, Seahawks 414 total yards to the Rams 249.
Yep.
Third down conversions 7 of 16 for Seattle, 2 of 11 for LA. Time of possession 37 minutes and 49 seconds for Seattle, 22 minutes and 11 seconds for LA. It looks like the Seahawks should have absolutely won this game. The difference in this game, 4 turnovers for Seattle, only 1 for the Rams.
That's right.
To me, that's a good enough performance, and to only lose by 2 points. And if you had the Cowboys kicker or the Jaguars
Brandon
kicker,
Aubrey or
Cam Little hit that field goal, and the Seahawks walk away with the win. So, to me, I kept the Seahawks right where they're at 2. I know 3 spots isn't too big of a jump, but why'd you drop them 3 spots off of that loss?
Awesome. Great question. First of all, let me give Seattle its flowers. Wide receiver Jackson Smith-Njigba, 700-yard games this season. That leads the NFL. Absolutely breaking out this year. Is there a most improved player in the NFL? I know there's one in the NBA. But,
yes. Well, it's not most improved. It's comeback player, I guess.
Do you think he could possibly? I mean, is there anything he's coming back from? Or I know I just would put this guy in like a most improved category. Absolutely amazing.
Right.
That being said, Seattle total of 16 giveaways. It's tied for second most in the league. 4 interceptions in one game for Sam Darnold. Highest single outing total this season for any team. I'm pretty sure. Maybe don't quote me on that, but very high, very high above average. Seattle shows me its offensive flaws for one of the first times this season. Of course, it is against a really good Rams team that is my number 1 team, but for that reason, they drop a few. I don't know how Seattle's going to be able to sustain all of this kind of gameplay going into the playoffs. I'm not saying it's going to be bad. I just don't know how they're going to sustain consistent gameplay. For that reason, I dropped them a few just as a cautionary exercise for me in my power rankings.
I think it's completely fair, and the teams you put above them: Seahawks, Broncos, Patriots, Colts. Broncos, Patriots, Colts, all super solid teams.
Everybody's showing they're solid
this week. So
I agree.
All right, let's go to Tier 2. We've got Chiefs at 9. Kind of just talked about that. They're down 4 out of Tier 1. We've got the Ravens at 10, up 2 spots. The Bears up 3 spots to 11. Packers up 1 to 12. Bucks down 3 to 13. 49ers up 1 to 14. Steelers up 1 to 15. Jaguars up 1 to 16. Almost everyone's coming up in this section except for the Bucks. And the reason everyone can come up is because the Chargers drop out of this section. We'll get to the Chargers here in a minute. Let's focus on Tier 2. We both have the Chiefs at 9. Really quick. Chiefs down 4 out of Tier 1. What do you see in this Chiefs team?
Yeah, so you know what? You ever seen the meme where it's the bus and one guy is looking out the window and it's all happy and sunshine, and the other same guy is looking out the window and it's all gloomy?
Yeah.
But it's like the same situation. It's 5-5. Kansas City's looking out the gloomy side. 5-5. Ravens are looking out the happy side. 2 5-5 teams, but one's kind of headed in a different trajectory the last few weeks. I know that Kansas City struggled their first few weeks due to injury, but their team's back. I know it's not necessarily maybe 100% on health, but this is a Kansas City team that the last 5 years in this dynasty has rolled in these last few weeks leading into the playoffs. Right now, they're looking a little tough. Explosive plays this season are down 20% from 2024 for Kansas City. Xavier Worthy does have 8 touchdowns of 40-plus yards, which is tied for the NFL lead right now. It also makes him the fastest to 500 receiving yards in league history in just 5 games in a season.
Wow.
So Xavier Worthy, really good. Patrick Mahomes looking a little rough. The rest of the offense not really explosive enough. Chiefs drop a few to me. They'll be okay. This Tier 2 has a lot of dangerous teams going into the playoffs. I think we can expect a fun playoffs this year.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just a few teams that I, as a Packers fan, would be nervous about in Tier 2. Chiefs, Ravens, Bears, Bucks, 49ers.
You could list almost the whole
Maybe
thing.
the Steelers or the Jaguars if they play up to their ceiling. All of Tier 2 could absolutely win a playoff game against a better opponent if they play to their ceiling, and that's kind of what makes this season so fun. It also makes power rankings very difficult, but it's been kind of fun to figure it out. So
that's right.
Next thing I wanted to talk about in Tier 2, the Bucs. They lose to the Bills. They still put up quite a bit of points, but the Bills ended up covering their spread. They ended up doubling the cover of their spread over the Bucs. I kept the Bucs at 10 because I felt like the Bills just really needed that game more than anything, and I felt like the Bucs played pretty well up until the fourth quarter and just couldn't quite keep up with the Bills. The Bills are, I think, a very good team, especially if they play to their height. I kept the Bucs at 10. You dropped the Bucs down to 17.
That's right.
To 6 or 6 spots. So what made you put the Bucs down so low?
Yeah, so Bucs and Chargers both dropped big for me this week just due to their losses. They kind of lose to teams that or like the Buccaneers lost in a very crazy way. It was like double their score, 22 points. I'm going to give the Bucs a criticism sandwich. A very smart man I once met taught me how to do the criticism sandwich. 2 pieces of bread that are good things with the meat in the middle. That's the bad thing, right? Tampa Bay leads the NFC South in offensive efficiency, so that's one good piece of bread, right? But let's get to the meat. Their plus 2 point differential is the slimmest among 500 teams. They have just been unable to, and not 500 teams, excuse me, but between around teams that are around 500. So 6 and 4 right now are the Bucs, excuse me. But that point differential still extremely slim for the entire league. So many one possession games that they've just barely been able to win. Their first few weeks, they were able to eke out some very close wins against teams that are now in Tier 3 and 4 for us, right? Tampa Bay Buccaneers, going back, if we're college football looking at strength of schedule and the resume, Bucs aren't really impressing me too much. I wouldn't be too worried about Tampa Bay. I think that the NFC South is, unfortunately, the weakest division. Their defense is allowing 28.4 points per game, which is actually the worst in their division, ironically, behind the Saints, the Panthers, and the Falcons. So Bucs drop big for me. That being said, they're still the most dangerous team in this division, and Baker Mayfield, here's the bottom piece of my criticism sandwich, can still make a stink against any defense in this league.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's fair. Bucs down to 17 is a little low for me, but I think Bucs at 10 is too high for me as well, and that's where I put them. I think where we've got them at 13 is just
right in the middle.
Perfect. So
just right. That's right.
Let's go to Tier 3. Kind of already talked about the Chargers, but they dropped down 6 spots to 17. You've got them at 16, I've got them at 17. Lands them at 17, just outside of Tier 2. And we both dropped the Texans. Sorry, we'll read it out, the whole thing. Chargers at 17, Panthers at 18, up to Texans down 1 to 19, Vikings down 1 to 20, Cowboys up 1 to 21, Falcons down 1 to 22, and the Dolphins, Cardinals at up 23-24, both of them up 1 spot. Texans went down 1 spot. I brought the Texans down 1. You brought the Texans down 2. They won this week, but it was a really, really close win against the Tennessee Titans. I don't really have too much on that. I think that if you play the Tennessee Titans, you should rout the Tennessee Titans. And
totally.
If you are sitting there at 19 as the Texans, I don't think you deserve to stay at – or 18. I don't think you deserve to stay at 18 for barely beating the Titans.
A win is a win, but a close win over the Titans is almost a loss, in my opinion. It's
as close as you can get.
That's about it. I this last week really showed me that the AFC South. I'm not worried about the Titans. I'm not worried about the Texans. I am worried about the Jaguars. That's what this last week told me in the AFC South. Absolutely.
And the Jaguars played against the Chargers just this last week.
Phenomenal.
And they also played in that playoff game that Jaguars came back from like 26-0 and won the game.
That's right.
This Jaguars team looked like the second half team of that playoff game, but for the entire game, and they absolutely pounded the Chargers. The Chargers dropped down to six spots. What did you see in this Chargers team that just couldn't do anything against the Jaguars?
Yeah, just their defense that has elite players on it and big names just can't get it done. You know, we are seeing a struggle bus from Los Angeles right now. Chargers have to figure out stuff defensively, especially in a division where they play Patrick Mahomes and Bo Nix. I don't think you have to really worry about Las Vegas and the quarterback situation there, but in a division where you got to play two really good quarterbacks at least, twice a year, Chargers defense has to figure it out. Halftime adjustments need to get better moving forward.
Absolutely. If you were to guess where Justin Herbert ranks as far as how many interceptions he has thrown so far this year, where would you think he ranks as far as quarterbacks go?
Top 5, I would say. Yeah.
He is top 5. He is tied for 4th.
Okay.
For the most interceptions thrown this year with 19. To me, I think that this is more than a defensive problem. I think this is more than a Justin Herbert problem and O-line problem. It's everything.
So? Okay. Coaching, do you think that Jim Harbaugh might not be a good fit in L.A.?
I do not think that's what it is.
Okay.
I think that there's just a lot of stuff that has gone wrong with injuries. I think that Herbert needs time in the pocket. I think him and Jordan Love are very similar in if you give them the time in the pocket to make the play,
mm-hmm.
they are going to eat you alive.
Right.
But if you can get to the quarterback on these two, they can do some crazy stuff that you just think, what were you seeing there? And I think that with both Justin Herbert and Jordan Love, that's how it is. I think that's just unfortunately what this Chargers team is going to be moving forward. I think that Justin Herbert has not done well against pressure at all. He's looked, frankly, pretty bad on a few different plays.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, he's playing good football, though. And the reason I have him dropping down to 17, though, is just I don't trust the rest of the team to be able to do enough for Justin Herbert to be able to do enough. So
yep, too many losses, too many close wins against bad teams this season. Chargers drop.
Yeah. Okay. Last thing on Tier 3, really quick, post-game win expectancy had the Falcons beating the Panthers, but that didn't happen. Bryce Young throws for 448 passing yards. Absolutely insane game from him after coming off of their loss to the Saints. Everyone always, as soon as people don't believe in Bryce Young, he tells you something. He shows you something to say, you need to believe in me, and then next week, I don't know who the Panthers are playing. I haven't gotten to that yet, but whoever they play next week, Bryce Young is going to look horrific. So
49ers, they're at San Francisco.
Yeah, give me Niners. Anyway, Tier 4. Really quick, we'll go through this. Commanders down 2-25. This is, I think, their first time being in our combined Tier 4. You've had them in Tier 4 for a little bit. I just put them down there. Saints up 1 on a bye. Bengals down 1-27. Giants stay where they're at, 28. Browns up 1-29. Jets down 1-30. Raiders stay where they're at 31. And Titans at 32, coming off of a bye. Raiders and Titans. You and I had 31-32 combined. Everything else is kind of a mismatch or matching, however you want in this tier. Anything you got on this one?
I'll be super quick. Commanders really stink. Raiders really stink. Jets hanging in there. Giants stink, but it's injury related. And then, of course, bottom of the pack, we still have the Tennessee Titans, who really stink. And that's where I'm at. But especially Commanders disappointed me a lot this week. Miami really impressed me. And then the Raiders. Monday Night Football against the Cowboys. I know that the Cowboys are decent. I know the Cowboys are figuring things out. But this Raiders team, play calling, offensive line, quarterback, everything looks so bad. So, Raiders drop 2.
I had the Raiders at 31 last week. I'm glad you finally brought them down. You had the Giants at 31 last week, and I was like, brother, the Giants are not that bad. But yeah, Raiders at 31. We finally agree on that, and you and I are pretty close on pretty much everything else. So, alrighty, I think that's good for
power rankings
our
for
power
this
rankings.
week.
Yep.
Love it.
Yeah, Lions would miss the playoffs right now. Every team in Tier 1 and Tier 2 would make the playoffs except for the Lions and the Panthers. Lions at 12, Panthers at 16. The only reason I think the Steelers and Bucks are even in the conversation at this point is because they have divisions that suck. And if they had to play any of the divisions above them, they would not be sitting here. But here they are. So let's go to Thursday Night Football.
Love it.
Bills are traveling to Texas to take on the Texans, to Houston. Buffalo is 7-3. Houston is 5-5. Another one of those 5-5 teams looking out the sunny side of the bus. The spread right now, or the spread as of when I looked this up, is Bills minus 5.5. So the Bills are favored by 5.5 points. Over under in this game, 43.5 points. Bills on the road, laying 5.5 of wood. What do you see in this game? What do you see coming up in this game?
Yeah, a couple of big pieces of news coming into this week. According to Ian Rappaport, C.J. Stroud will not play this week. Davis Mills does get the go-ahead nod also in this game.
Am I crazy to think that that's not that much of a downgrade? I mean, this feels very similar to the Purdy Mac Jones, where this team hasn't really taken a step back, and between C.J. Stroud and Davis Mills on offense.
Sure, fair to say, and totally any other season, I'd say you're absolutely insane. We've seen it a couple of times this season. It does not discredit the fact that C.J. Stroud has still had some really good seasons past. It doesn't discredit the fact that, for example, Brock Purdy with the Mac Jones situation is any less of a quarterback this year. I think that the NFL each team tries to set it up so that the second backup quarterback is not too much of a step back. I think the Texans have done that really well. Unfortunately, I do think that it's less of a Davis Mills is rising to the occasion and more of a C.J. Stroud has fallen this year. That being said, I still like the Bills in this one on the road. Josh Allen, now 290 career touchdowns before age 30. That's an NFL record. The Bills are starting to come into their own. They had a really solid win this last week. I think they're figuring things out. So those are some of the statistics that I see in this week's game, at least quarterback play. Texans defense, though, I do have to just say, has been very solid this year. The Bills have struggled against good defenses, especially good run defenses. And even though we continue to let James Cook, going to be really interesting to see the Josh Allen versus James Cook play calling against a solid Texans defense this week.
Absolutely. I like what you brought up there. This Texans defense is stout in every way. So it will be interesting to see how the Bills plan to use the pieces that they have on offense to be able to try to make something work there. And on the offensive side, the Texans don't really have too much of a run game. Woody Marks is their running back one, and he's been okay. But that's where you can really do damage on this Bills team. And I think it's going to be similar to when the Bills played the Chiefs, where it's going to be a closer game. It's going to be kind of weird that it's close because it's the Texans and not the Chiefs, even though they have the same record. And I think it's because the Texans have a little bit better of a defense and the Chiefs had a little bit better of an offense. Neither of these teams really have a run game. I'm going to take the Bills to win it, but I'm going to take the Texans to cover at the 5.5 at home. Give me Bills 24, Texans 20. Hit the over-under by a 0.5 point over. What do you have in this one?
Yeah, I'm going to actually go against you, so we're going to see who has the better bet this week. I actually like Bills to cover in this one. I'm going to make this a very conservative score for something that's been, for Thursday night footballs that haven't been very conservative. I'm going to take the Bills 24-17. That gives me the Bills cover, but also the under. I think the Texans defense stifles this Bills offense. Texans keep it somewhat close, but not enough to cover. 24-17 by a touchdown this Thursday night at NRG Stadium.
I really like that too. I mean, it's a 3-point difference between you and I on the Texans score. I think that we have very similar ways that this game is going to play out. I've just got the Texans with an extra field goal is all. So
that's it. And yet here we are, so opposite.
Yes, and yet you've got the Bills covering and the under. Yeah. I've got the Bills. Texans covering and the over. So, lastly, I've got just a couple player props. Give me Woody Marks over 15.5 rushing attempts.
I like that.
They're going to try to run against this Bills team because that's what you can do against this Bills team.
Right.
And give me James Cook over 2.5 receptions. This Texans team is going to be stifling. I think they're going to try to get James Cook in space, on screens, on out on checkdowns. Give me James Cook over 2.5 receptions. Anything else on this game? Power rankings, anything, Matthew?
I like that prop bet that you have with Texans run game. The Bills have allowed 153 rushing yards per game, which is a bottom 10 in the NFL this season.
Yeah, and whether or not Woody Marks can run the rock, I think they'll get him to run it over 16 times. So.
Yeah, might as well try, right?
Yeah. All righty. Matthew, anything you want to plug on the way out?
You kind of did it for me, but Matthew Arscott Sports Show, wherever you get your podcasts or listen to them, and we're hoping to go live on YouTube and video somewhat in the near future. Just got to get some time under my belt to master all of those techniques. Joseph, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yep, thank you so much for joining NFL Talking Points, Matthew. It's always a more fun episode for me to be able to have you on. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Come back later in the week to hear my previews for the games. And until next time, heed the call.